This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Week in Review. Very special Week in Review tonight, as we've got a couple on the podcast, never been on the podcast before, attended in person in the Calgary, Alberta, Scotiabank Saddle Dome that took place just a couple nights ago. And I'd like to welcome to the show Chris and Galia. You guys Calgary, Alberta natives, no?
No, we're the Chris and Galia from Warspite, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, welcome, guys. I'm very excited to be able to finally connect with you guys. We've been talking about this for several weeks, and first, let me start with you, Chris. I know we talked a little bit off air, but I'm curious to know what got you into wrestling and how long you've been watching.
Yeah, for myself, it's a family thing. My dad is a very big fan, and so began watching with him. And actually, my parents, we went together to Raw, which would be going on in Edmonton at the Rexall at that time. So attended a couple live shows, really enjoyed it, and got memorabilia like the Stone Cold finger with the red skull. Just so memorable. And then 2 Extreme posters. So really got into wrestling at that time. And it left an imprint that it kind of went away for a bit and resounded in my late 20s again.
You have a favorite memory when you go back and you're just like, oh, I could, like, you go on YouTube or whatever, you could watch it over and over. You have one of those?
Some things that are just kind of live vicariously. Like I would have loved to see when Shawn Michaels and that other guy touched the mat at the same time, 2 winners at a Royal Rumble. Those things just life-changing and really interesting for the business and everything as a whole.
Well, you certainly got in one of the hottest times in wrestling. And so, Galia, let me transition to you quickly. And I know, again, since talking off air, we learned that you have just recently kind of gotten into wrestling over the last, you said 12, 14 months or so?
Yeah, so when Chris and I got together, we were, just doing things. And about a year ago, we started watching wrestling together. And so Chris was actually listening to your podcast for the wrestling shows that he wasn't even able to watch because he didn't have access to those channels.
I got a lot of flack for that.
I thought it was so funny. But he wanted to keep up to date and everything like that. And then we started watching SmackDown every Friday night. And we do that every week. We're actually pretty upset if we have some other commitment that comes up and we can't do it because it's kind of like our date night. So we said we watch it live, or there is a replay a few hours later. So we do that. And, I have really come to like it and enjoy it. And, we get in and we have our banters about what's going on and whatnot. And,
the Roman Reigns upsets,
just whatever. But yeah, we really like it. So we do this every Friday night.
That's so cool. I cannot name too many couples that do that. It's great. It's a great experience. You guys are destined to stay together forever. Not to put anything. Not putting the cart in front of the horse here, but I got to say that's pretty cool. And but one thing I do have to ask, since you guys do watch this together and it's kind of a date night for you, are there any disagreements you have about, people that you like? I would imagine you guys like generally the same people, but are there ever disagreements about, oh, I like this person, and the other one's like, well, I don't know. Are there any kind of disagreements that you have about the direction of storylines or characters or anything?
Oh, definitely. So when we first started watching, Chris hated Liv Morgan. He just did not like her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cool looking. I just like her. And she flips her hair around and everything like that. So neat. Yeah. But no, he didn't like Liv Morgan. And but other than that,
no, there's a couple your favorite Drew McIntyre. Oh, yeah. So she has this Scottish show that she likes to watch, and she has a big affiliation for Drew. And just for me, it doesn't strike as big. I wasn't around when he was hitting it hot, and so now he's another face in the crowd for me. And then there was one other. Oh, you know what? I don't know. Deer in the headlights look. All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We both got a deer in a headlight look right now. But
happens- see,
we generally like the same ones for the most part.
That happens to me more than people realize because most of the shows I do aren't live. I mean, people don't even know like how much times I have to hit pause and like it all sounds fluid, but half of my stuff is just banter and I don't know what I'm saying. So, but no, that's
Thanks for that.
no, trust me. It's when you're live, it's a whole different story. But nonetheless, I mean, that's so Drew McIntyre. I think I'm with you. I don't think he's being utilized to his maximum potential. I actually feel like he should be a heel. Whole nother conversation, but
He could make a great heel.
oh, it's waiting, and he's been a heel before. And I know that if you've only been watching the short amount of time you haven't seen that version of him, maybe. But no, he has been a heel before, and he's excellent at it. And I think that's just what his career needs. And my prediction is it'll happen in the next 4 to 6 months. But that said, you would have loved it during the pandemic era when he was champion for like 18 months and essentially the face of the company during the whole run when they didn't have live crowds.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I did watch the WrestleMania of that time, and that was something else.
brutal. It's tough to watch. I mean, they did the best they could during that time. I don't know if Gallia, you've gone back and viewed any of it. I would exercise caution because it's so jarring to not see a crowd and to just hear just dead silence and no one in the audience. It's almost disturbing to watch. But yeah, so during that time though, he was the face of the company, and he won the championship in front of no one, which I felt awful about for him because he was so deserving of it at that time, beating Brock Lesnar. But yeah, so nonetheless, yeah, if you want to go back and see your guy be champion and run the company for 18 months, it's
Okay, let's just make it clear. There's only one guy.
your guy.
Don't know that.
That's
It's just
true.
Chris.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean like your TV guy, your wrestling guy. Right? Like, so yes. But all right. So you guys attended in person, and is this your first event, Gallia? Is this your first event that you've been to?
So we did go to our
Real Canadian Wrestling, RCW show.
Yeah, so
local.
real small local show. It was okay, but this is the first WWE event that I've been to, and it took us like 5 hours to drive there.
So the anticipation was amazing.
Yeah, and we actually drove to Calgary and back and watched the show in the same day.
Wow. Oh, wow. You guys, 5 hour drive, hour there, 5 hours back. Did you guys stay overnight or did you just drive back after the show?
Yeah, we just drove back after the show.
Got in the truck and talked about it a little bit and drove on home.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I give you admiration for that. I would have fallen asleep at the wheel. So
we said SummerSlam, like the week or the SmackDown after SummerSlam, and we thought it was amazing.
It was great.
I am jealous. This was a big show. I mean, I'll start with the first thing that's on my mind here, and that was Edge and his return, which I admit I didn't see coming because the advertisement that came up was that he was going to be in Toronto next week. And when you see that advertisement, you're like, oh, well, he's not going to, it looks like it's going to be next week. Oh, we missed it. Damn. And then he shows up. I mean, were you guys surprised at that? I would imagine by the reaction, it sounded like it.
Yeah. Everyone in the crowd was really surprised, excited, elated, and it was amazing to have him because back in those days as well, like Too Extreme, and Edge and Christian, and Edge was my favorite. I had read a book, The Adam Copeland Story, and so I was pretty lit for that.
And it was really cool too when he came out and he's sitting there talking to the crowd in Calgary, and then when he said, "Oh, I'm going to Toronto next week," and everybody went boo, and he's like, it was so funny. He's like, "You can't boo me when I'm right here."
I heard
so that was cool.
Yeah, what is the reason? Is there a rivalry between Calgary and Toronto or something? Like, what is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's the rivalry exists for any city that's not the city.
Yeah. Toronto and Vancouver, Toronto and Calgary, Edmonton. It doesn't matter. We just like to duke it out.
Okay. All right. No. I heard that. I'm like, but you guys, I'm sitting there. I'm like, you guys know it's the same country, right? Like, so I figured you guys were all united as one or something. All right. Well, so I heard a little bit of that, and then Edge was talking about Sheamus, and very surprised actually that he was talking about Sheamus as the guy that he wanted to face next, which I don't have a problem with. I have not seen them, in a match together. That is true.
They've never been. Oh.
Yeah, and it seems to me like they're setting up for something bigger next week, and it's not going to be a Sheamus Edge program. I feel like someone's going to interfere and do something to Edge where that leads Edge to the next big opponent. I could be wrong, but what did you guys think about the Sheamus segment, which seemed to be very friendly, very professional? What did you guys make of the whole segment and the whole story and the videos they showed of the bike accident and all that kind of stuff? What did you guys make of that in person?
It was really amazing, and it was really awe-inspiring to see the respect and the love that Sheamus had for Edge when they met first. I think he said it was in London at like all those years ago, and he was working, and how he was talking about Edge was the only one that would give him the time of day, and it was actually what ended up bringing him into wrestling.
We're big suckers for those kind of things.
Yeah.
When they bring their real life into
stories.
it and like just say, "Oh, you helped me," like Shayna and Ronda, we love that. We like this being a real angle of Sheamus and Edge. So,
and it really just goes to show you that wherever you are, it doesn't matter how big you are or how small you are. When you treat people well, they remember it, and they actually will go to bat for you and be lifelongers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when he did that and he brought in, I mean, I can imagine most people, including myself, I didn't know this. I mean, I do a podcast for half my living, and I still didn't know that this was part of the story of Sheamus and Edge, and I was taken back too. And they seem to genuinely be friends. I do believe they are. I don't think it's a work. So I enjoyed this as well, and I'm looking forward to their match. Again, you don't see a whole lot of friendly kind of best man win, no personal hatred, nothing on the line other than, hey, I just want to be able to perform in front of a crowd with you. That's something that you very rarely ever get in pro wrestling. So it may, some people may look at this as kind of too feel good, but we don't get much of this at all. It's typical. It's usually just a typical formula of how matches are made. So I have no problem with this, and I'm looking forward to next week. Are you guys going to make the drive next week to Toronto?
That's like 3,600 kilometers. So
I was going to say.
We both equally have done it, but we're not doing it for this occasion, sadly.
I was kind of half joking. Yeah, that would be wow. I mean, you might as well fly at that point, right? So,
100%. I have a kind of question though, in the sense, did Sheamus and Drew do that kind of angle as well, where it was camaraderie and a spiritual or a spirit fight?
It was, but it turned. It was also kind of borderline. You didn't really know where they landed. Like you knew the history of them is well documented, that they are actually really good best friends, but they also had a time when they, in on TV where they didn't get along and they were feuding, but then they came back together with kind of a hesitation against one another. But it was a very physical friendship that you never knew if it was truly going to break down to a heated rivalry. So it wasn't as friendly as this. No.
One more thing I want to throw out there, because I think this is a pretty big topic and it's what I would like to see more out of wrestling. We did watch a Royal Rumble from years ago, and she got to see Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy get in the ring, and they actually started versing each other in the middle of the Royal Rumble because they were the only two people in the ring. And I thought that was really cool, just to, not really plan ahead of how they were going to win, but just get back to the basics of we could show some really good talent and have a good fight.
Yeah, that you don't see that a whole lot either. I'm trying to remember, what year was that? What was it, like 04, 03? Like it had to have been early 2000s.
I think it was 04. I went back because I did want to see the Shawn Michaels Hogan match. So I think
that was 05 then. So 05 was Michaels and Hogan. So okay, I was close. But I don't remember that. Now I'm gonna have to look. But you don't typically see that, and now we're seeing it with Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso. We'll get to that a little bit later, and that whole rivalry that now Jay is leaving WWE, and we'll talk about it. But as far as that, again, kind of wrapping up the Edge segment, I was happy for you guys because I did not think that they were going to bring out Edge, given that they told you he's coming back next week. That was a sneaky thing, but I was very happy for you guys in person.
We actually had several surprises. Some of them were televised, and some of them were not televised. So,
well, do share.
Okay, well, there was 3 untelevised matches.
Yeah. So they had a pre-show match, and then they also had 2 post-show matches.
And so the pre-show match was with
Grayson Waller and Cameron Grimes.
Yes.
Who won?
And Jason or
Waller. Okay.
Yeah, he won.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's so funny because he does that whole like
The
knee lunges, and he is like doing the knee lunges out, and then after he wins, he's doing the knee lunges, and then all the way backstage, he was doing the knee lunges, and I'm like, wow, he sure likes his knees.
Oh, that's funny.
$1 million knees.
So that was that the first match that when you got to the building that happened? Okay.
That was the first match, and so we actually had some questions about that. Like, would that be like a training match, like for something that might be coming up, or they're getting used to one another?
Yeah,
that work.
It depends, because sometimes, I mean, if they were taping, it might have been main event, the show main event, or it's really just a way to get guys minutes in the ring that they may have. This may be a clue that they're going to work together in the future, or it's just that they're giving them time in the ring to just become more polished wrestlers. I mean, that it could be just that simple, and so I don't have a specific answer. It's just kind of a way to get guys in front of a live crowd, which is the best way to learn.
Right.
Yeah, the last match was really obvious what they were going for that. But the second last match after the J event, there was a tag team match.
Yeah.
Which we should have been the most excited for, but we were pretty gassed by that time.
Yeah, we were really gassed after the whole bloodline thing. So the second match was with Street Profits and the Brawling
Brutes.
Was Bobby Lashley at ringside? Was Bobby there at all?
He was. We with the promos that they were doing with him, we expected Bobby Lashley to have a match, and he didn't.
To be out there more. But what he ended up doing was, upon the victory, he was out there congratulating the boys,
the Street Profits. Yeah, and walked out and then basically walked back with them.
What was the reaction to the Street Profits and Bobby? Did they get booed, cheered? What is the reaction happening right now?
So, like we said, not only us, we were pretty tired, but the whole crowd had been exhausted. I think that it was positive. Just even listening to you and the way that people are feeling the situation going out, it's exciting. And they look good together, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah, no, I was curious, but also... No, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to say, it is interesting to see these 3 together. I think all 3 of them are helping each other because all 3 of them are kind of in a lull in their career. So that's good to hear that they're getting a positive reaction. But go ahead, Galia.
Yeah, so that match, they did end up coming out with the victory.
The Street Profits, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and then the last one was for the championship, women's championship.
Oh my gosh, which one?
It was the match between Rhea Ripley, and it was a championship match. It was so weird that it wasn't televised, but it was between Rhea Ripley and Natalya.
Wait,
and Natalya, Calgary is her hometown.
Right, and so she must have got a pretty good pop. But why? I'm wondering why Rhea's there, given that she's the champion on Raw. So
yeah, we didn't get it. We did not get it at all. And the other thing that was interesting is Rhea did not have all her makeup on. She didn't have her lips on. She didn't have a whole lot of face makeup. She was actually a little more plain Jane.
Bit of a different girl for sure.
Definitely a bit of a different girl. She didn't have her same, persona that she usually has. So it was definitely a very muted Rhea Ripley.
And totally standalone as well. There was no Judgment Day with her.
No Dom, no. Okay.
No, nobody. And then, Natalya lost the match to Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, she did give some cool quotes, which I feel honored to share with the WWE podcast here.
Yeah.
So when she had lost, which we could explain, but maybe we're going a little too in depth. But she had said, some people wear what's important to them on their shoulders or around their waist. Well, I wear what's precious to me on my heart. and she was referring to her moments in wrestling. After that, she proceeded to say something like, in 1997 was the last time her family had stood together in a WWE ring. And it was actually the first time that she had stayed or been in a ring. And she was going to carry this moment of losing to Rhea in her heart forever. And the way the crowd supported her.
Yeah, the crowd went crazy wild.
Well, I mean, 1997 is something that will, I know it happened in Montreal and not in Calgary, but with Bret Hart being from Calgary, but still, I mean, I'm sure when did she at least hit the sharpshooter for people to, to explode?
I love your follow-ups. So yeah, that does lead to the end of the match. She had it beginning on Rhea. It was looking good. And then that sneaky, underhanded Bailey came in.
Out.
Yeah. And so
all three of them.
Was it all three? Okay.
It was.
Yeah. And they really put a kibosh on her plans, but then somehow in Gallia's mind, Natalya fought off three people and put Bailey in the sharpshooter for the end of the whole event.
That's right. And so it was kind of like a mini secondary match, and it was really kind of
feel good moment for sure.
It definitely was, because Bailey definitely needs to be put in her place. She puts her nose where it doesn't belong way too many times.
Well, it's funny that she does, but at the same time, Bailey hasn't done anything of significance. I mean, honestly, like, she hasn't had her own program since she returned a year ago at SummerSlam. So, like, I'm not a fan of this group because I feel like she's better off without them, and I feel like those two are actually better off alone, even though they're relatively new. But anyway, so cool. Yeah. Well, before we get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of SmackDown and go through a little bit more sequentially of the show, I have to ask, because I'll always forget, was it sold out, number one?
No, it was not. There was even on the floor, there was lots of empty space. We had heard that they were moving people around to fill the floor space for the camera and stuff like that. So they were doing that, but there was lots of empty seats.
We're thinking about kind of towards the entrance area on the left-hand side. It would be like our left if we're looking at the entrance. They were selling seats for about $180.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so what percentage would you say it was full?
I don't know. I would have went up like 70 or so.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe. Yeah, 60 to 70.
Well, they did a good job covering up the blank seats. I didn't really notice anything on television. So,
yeah.
As far as demographics, was it younger, older, mix?
Well, not so many older people, like people over 55 or 60. There wasn't so many of that. And there also wasn't a whole lot of 18 to 25-year-olds. But there was a ton of kids.
We figured they're around 7 years old on average for the kids. Yeah,
a lot of young kids, and a lot of couples that seem to be going out, groups of 4 or 5 people going together. Lots of guys sitting together. There was this couple in front of us. And beside us, there was 2 couples, they were just having a great time. So that's pretty much the demographics. But one thing we wanted to point out, and we actually have a confession to make, because we looked all over the place. So Calgary's cowboy town. Okay,
Cowtown.
Cowtown. We didn't see any cowboy hats.
So surprising. We were going to have a cowboy count.
But then when I watched, because I actually watched SmackDown yesterday. Like the show
replay.
And the replay, and on the entranceway where the wrestlers walk through, there was this kid, probably about 7 or 8 years old, wearing a cowboy hat. And actually, on the way when Edge was coming in, he actually sat and talked with the kid. He took his hat off, put it back on, and it was really kind of cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and he was the only person that we saw with a cowboy hat.
And typically, so this is unusual to go to any kind of event, sporting event, and not see people with cowboy hats then.
In Calgary, yeah.
In Calgary, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were really interested to go back like 30 years or 20 years and see the cowboy hats in the seating area because Stampede Wrestling comes from Calgary, and you can bet your bottom dollar there was some cowboy hats floating on the crowd.
Oh yeah.
Huh. I wonder what it. I don't have an answer for you. I'm not going to pretend I know why that is. But
maybe like going to Texas and not seeing a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
that's the same thing basically. Can you imagine not seeing a cowboy hat in Texas?
Yeah, that is a bit. Yeah, so I guess that's a good analogy for me. That would be very bizarre. So I don't know, just kind of a fluke. I would imagine, right? Kind of just a fluke of all the people that aren't going to wear them in the same building that night, I guess. Well, I guess that leads me to my next question about attire. I mean, and merch. Did you see a lot of Rhea Ripley shirts? That seems to be the trend right now, is like mommy shirts, or Roman Reigns shirts. What was the general consensus about merch that you saw that people had on?
Well, the merch line was very long.
Roof.
I don't know, hundreds of people in line to buy things. But honestly, we saw these yellow shirts.
Yeah.
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 And that's
I don't know what it's
a lot of
about, but
people-
everyone's wearing this shirt.
Yeah,
Well, let me
probably
talk to you.
8-10%.
So there was a lot.
So LA Knight seems to be actually selling a ton of merch right now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good response. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many puns you could make off of it. I mean, but that's awesome. I mean, that he's taken off, and I'm a big fan. I know that LA Knight, he didn't appear on SmackDown, right? I'm not imagining that, or no, he was. No, I'm sorry, he was there. He was there.
No,
He was there.
no,
I'm
he was.
thinking because
Yeah.
on Raw, he's not supposed to be there, even though he's showing up on Raw now. But
We'll get into that later.
yeah, which I have like mixed feelings about that. Like, I'm a big proponent of the whole brand split being a brand split, but I also understand why they're trying to put LA Knight on both shows to give him maximum exposure. I have feelings about that. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, it was actually very disappointing. I was watching Raw, and I thought his big moment was going to be on SmackDown. So it hurt to see him in Raw.
Yeah.
But he beat Top Dollar. I mean, what a staple career victory he had there. I mean, beating Top Dollar, which I would imagine everyone expected to happen. And I mean, the reaction you guys gave him, by the way, I mean, just it might have been in the top 3 that he's gotten so far. You guys absolutely exploded for him. So props to you guys.
Woohoo.
Yeah, we'll take it, but I don't feel it was too deserved. He didn't actually get as loud a pop as the other. I think we could name 3 other things that were louder. So
Yeah, definitely.
throughout the night for us.
Go ahead, do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Rey Mysterio, number 1.
Oh my
Boom.
gosh,
When it happened,
excellent.
it was the biggest.
People went crazy.
Yeah. Edge.
Because actually, it's kind of interesting because Rey Mysterio was supposed to verse Austin Theory originally.
Yep.
Santos.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Rey Mysterio was supposed to, and then Santos ended up doing it because Rey Mysterio was taken out of the match because of injury. And then, so that's why Santos ended up taking the...
Kind of flipped. No, different. What do you mean, no?
It's
okay.
a previous match. Yeah.
I'm confused.
No, you're right, Galia, because that match it came down to the finals of Santos versus Rey. And originally, I believe Rey was supposed to win that, but Rey did truly get injured in the match, and they said, oh, crap, we got to have Santos win. So they flipped it in the middle of the match, from what I understand, just because Rey was truly injured, and Santos won. So Santos versus Austin Theory only happened because Rey did get injured.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
This is a nice circle. Way to go, you two. Yeah.
And then, so no, you're right, Galia. Yeah, I'm riding your coattails here, but that's true. Yeah, so Rey actually got the match he was supposed to get. Whatever injury he had, I mean, he miraculously recovered from it. I mean, I don't know specifically what happened in that match. He got a concussion, but I'm surprised that given the concussion protocols they have, that he just recovered so quickly and they were okay. But hey, that pop you guys gave Rey also was pretty damn cool.
It was. Okay, so what were the other ones, Chris? You said there was about 3 others.
Well, definitely Edge for sure.
Oh,
and then
yes, definitely.
it could have happened throughout the Roman Reigns segment, it just being louder than LA Knight's.
Yeah. People were pretty excited because we didn't know that Roman Reigns was coming.
I took a picture of Gallia's "I did not know Roman's Reigns"
Oh, you did?
face was coming. Yeah,
And then when Jey Uso came out, the crowd went wild.
that's true. Yeah, Jay was a big one
Yeah.
when he first entered.
Absolutely.
So yeah, those were some really loud moments in the crowd. I did want to go back to like the merch and attire. Me and Gallia made homemade T-shirts.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna post them on Instagram, and we'll tag the WWE podcast.
Please.
So we made these ones, and we actually wrote your phone number and email address on the back of our shirts.
Did you really? Oh, you guys are.
We bought these white T-shirts, and we customized them in the parking lot of the Saddle Dome, and then we went in. We actually had the coolest T-shirts. WWE should actually take
the coolest homemade T-shirt. There was a really awesome one, and I think Rocky T, or you might have to correct me, but they might like it. But it had WWE action figures and figurines, and it was like a crop top with a formal looking shirt.
Yeah.
And just like plastered everywhere with little figurines. It was so cool.
All right. Well, you guys need to tag me in that whenever you can. Now I need to see this, along with your shocked face of Roman's here and I can't believe it.
Okay, will do.
Very interested. No, so yeah, I'll be looking at Instagram later, but. So that's awesome. You guys actually, you do not see that either really that often, where people are actually making their own merch and people just shell out, 5 times what they actually would pay if they just went on WWEshop.com. I really never understand that. I just, and I'm guilty of it. I can't pretend I'm not. But if you just went on your app, you could purchase the merchandise at like half the price than going to the merch stand that's right in the, in the area right outside the arena. I don't get it. So
it's kind of like a pay to play kind of thing, so when you're right on the thing, you actually have to pay more.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
also the experience. Yeah.
If you were to go to it, I guess it might be a thing. If you go in there and you're like, oh, my heart feels like I'm called to buying this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like memorializing that moment. It's something.
Oh, I get it. It's like going to a concert that you'll never see again. It's like I was there. I understand it. I totally understand it.
Yeah, Matt, that's a big one too. Those shirts were everywhere. I was there at Chamber. Or I was there at this. Mm-hmm. And a lot from 2022, 2023. A lot of people are jumping on those shirts too.
Yeah, we actually talked to some people and asked them, they were wearing shirts from other matches from other years. And
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, Elimination Chamber in Montreal.
Yeah.
And so we actually talked to them and asked them what they thought being there. And, and it was really kind of cool to hear their responses. And we actually did see another couple. I don't know if they regularly watch together, but they're the ones that went to the Elimination Chamber in Montreal. And they were talking about how much they loved the match, and they like doing it.
You get on a plane and you go to Ottawa where the next show is, and they ran into 2 superstars that they were quite happy about.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, that match, and I was not there for it, even though I'm only about 3 hours from Montreal. I probably should have just drove up, but
you didn't go visit him?
Well, hey, no, listen. To be fair, I have 2 young kids at home. It's easier said than done. When I have 2 young kids, my wife, I think she was sick at the time or something, so like I couldn't just like up and leave. I can't be like, hey babe, you got the kids. I'm heading up to watch wrestling. I'll see you, in a day or 2. So like there's that. But now in retrospect, maybe I could have made a harder sell because that match was just. I mean, it's one of those matches that it will live forever. Now, I'm not putting it with Hogan Andre or anything, but it is one of those ones that had more emotion going into it than I can remember in recent memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, man. All right. Now, all right. Well, so the other ancillary stuff, I'm trying to think. So you guys, you gave me the matches that happened, the merch, the demographics, the crowd, who they pop for. What about boos? Who got the top negative reactions on SmackDown?
Well, people didn't like it when Roman Reigns came out. So when they were done cheering for him, that he was actually in Calgary, and then he started talking, then people were booing him. He got some pretty loud boos. Yeah, especially because before there seems to be like a little bit of he's talking about the honorability, but when he started talking about the boat, oh no, do you want the yacht and the this and the that, and people were really booing that because it really started to show some superficial official true colors of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is still cool to see him there, you know, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's weird, right? Like, yeah, you cheer his entrance and you realize the moment that he's here when he's not on SmackDown a lot. But then when he starts opening his mouth, you're like, oh yeah, screw this guy.
Yeah. Roman Reigns is definitely the one that people love to hate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
And I guess AJ Styles versus who was that there? Karrion Kross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Karrion Kross. The crowd was behind AJ Styles.
There was some AJ chants going on. Me and Gally would like to make an amendment to the AJ chant instead of saying AJ Styles.
It kind of sounds like a hockey thing. So
it really should just be AJ.
AJ.
AJ. And repeat.
Yeah. We tried to get it going, but it didn't really take off.
Oh, so you guys tried your own. So you two tried to get the rest of the crowd to chant AJ. That's actually a good amendment. I like that.
We're definitely outside the box, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely was quite vocal. I'm surprised I still have my voice, but Galia told me just trust in the process.
I also told him he's not allowed to say I love you to the wrestlers.
That had happened. Yeah, I love you, Jay.
And I'm like, you're not allowed to say I love you to other people.
And you typically do it when there's not a lot of. It's kind of like a lull in the noise, so that your voice gets carried as far as possible, right? When it's kind of quieter, you yell it.
That would have been smart.
Yeah,
that would have been smart. Yeah. There was one guy, he was whistling when it was dead quiet, and you could hear it from 800 seats away. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I'm glad you brought up that match. We might as well cover it. You know that. There's a couple things with this. Now, there was that botch that happened 2 times, actually, and Michael Cole did a great job, or I think it was Corey Graves, and if you've watched it back, they did a nice job of covering it by saying, you know, AJ Styles makes something out of nothing, or whatever it was. But in person, I don't know how... Or, you know, I was first of all worried about their safety, because anytime you see a botch, you're like, you know, and he was trying to lift him up, and his head's above the mat, and if he drops him on his neck, obviously it's a bad day. But what were you guys watching? Did you guys kind of see that and go, okay, something ain't right here? They tried it twice, and it kind of went, you know, south.
Yeah. So you could definitely tell that. I don't know if AJ Styles just lost some momentum or whatnot, or, you know, for whatever reason. But yeah, definitely I was like, oh wow, what's going on? Also, another thing I wanted to say is watching it in person is completely different than watching it on TV. Mm-hmm. Because when you watch on TV, you've got the commentator, and obviously it's right in your face. You know, here, watching it in person, if you're farther away, it's harder to see. Even though they do have screens, it was almost the screens were almost smaller than what we could actually see in person. But the commentating really adds a huge amount to the whole experience, and so you do miss that. You get all the crowd stuff, but you do miss what they're saying right up there. But it was we were definitely concerned.
One thing that kind of I actually missed the botch spot, because watching in person from that far away, it was just a pretty fluent match in my head, especially because I know AJ is such an amazing wrestler.
Yes.
So that was so exciting to see his match. But something that threw us off was Karrion Kross. His entrance began, and then it stopped because of a commercial break, I assume.
And he didn't actually finish coming in that way, and then it was just kind of like a rush thing, and then they got in the ring and they sat around and waited for a bit, and then when the cameras came back on, then it continued. So it would have been great just to fully see his entrance. Instead of just what the cameras see. And it wasn't like that for all of them, because there was some other matches where when the wrestlers came out that, you know, it was obviously going to be on the commercial breaks, parts of it. But
yeah, I'd also like to say, I don't know if it's something different that they do for Roman Reigns' pyro, but it sounded like, I don't know, 1.5 times louder than anyone else's pyro. So that was cool.
Boom, boom in your chest.
Yes, that's the best way to describe some of the pyro. It's like a clap of thunder in front of your face. It's some of that it does. You can feel the vibrations through your body. It is that loud. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep.
But yeah, so the match itself, though, beyond the botch, which I mean, I'm not faulting them. It happens. It is what it is. But Karrion Kross loses clean to AJ Styles, and this program has been building for several weeks, and to see it happen this way tells me that, first of all, the program's probably over if AJ beats the heel clean. It typically is over, and I think that honestly, Karrion Kross probably needs a reset. I don't know who and what he is. He says he's the harbinger of doom. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what that means. He's got a good look. I like Scarlett's look. They have a good presentation, but I don't know. It feels like from not AJ Styles, but for Karrion Kross, I feel like he needs a reset from a character perspective.
You know what? I totally agree. And I actually think that the Harbinger of Doom really applies more to Scarlett than it does to Karrion Kross, because I think that she's creating a lot of the drama that is coming out. And I agree. He needs a reset because it's kind of blasé.
Mm-hmm. It is. Other than he makes scary faces and makes scary promos, but like it's so surface level. I don't even know what he means, and he was always referring to clocks as like something needs to change with him, and I think it just a little time away could do wonders, and I think that just even a slight tweak in his character is something. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen by any stretch. It just needs some work. It needs some polish on it, I think, and he'll be okay. But all right, well, moving on here. Oh, before I forget, I always have to ask, what happened during commercial breaks? Were there any? I mean, not matches, but like things that happen where they put cams on people, where they're like kiss cams, where they're DX cams, that kind of thing. What did they do to keep the crowd entertained during commercial breaks?
Well, they had this one thing where they wanted people to be up dancing, and they were going to show people dancing on camera. They did do that.
We think it was dancing. They didn't quite specify. They were like, "Now's your time to shine," and
so we were dancing.
Yeah.
We were dancing. Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, there was more room there than at the last concert that we went to.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was that. And then there was the DX chops, yes. Which I'm surprised because I'm totally with you. It's off-putting. But then I did see a lot of people holding up the DX chop just kind of around like there. Yeah. Just kind of at like chest height.
There was a guy that was doing, at like right over his crotch, basically. He just kept going.
That guy.
Like it was cool 24 years ago, and like I understand the nostalgia of it, and they did it in Albany, New York when I was there for Raw, and every time I talk to somebody, they tell me they're still doing it. But I remember when I was there, they put the cam on like a 6-year-old kid. And the 6-year-old kid's doing the chop. I'm like, do you know what this is inferring? Like, do you understand what this like actually means? And plus, we have a
12-year-old.
Yeah,
and we not approve.
Like, not at all. And like, it's like funny on surface level. You're just like, oh my god, that's hilarious. And then you take 5 seconds. You're like, what? That's not good, right?
It's PG era for us, I guess.
I don't know.
The other thing that we really take out of that is the what chance, because it did come around when Jay and Jimmy were speaking.
Yes.
Actually, when Jimmy was speaking. And since listening to you, the whole time I'm trying to negate it. I'm like, yeah, instead of what? Because it just can't happen. It shouldn't happen anymore.
It's 21 years ago. Or no. Yeah, 21 years. 2002 is when it was developed by Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it just it has not stopped. It has not stopped. It's just a way, I think, for the audience to get involved, but also they do it in a way that also I think takes time. It's not all the time, but takes away from promo sometimes. It's the crowd wants to go into business for themselves, and I understand it, but I don't know. I think it's more than worn out as welcome over the last 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. So one other thing that they did do throughout the commercial breaks was like 25 top Instagram pics by the wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So that went through the current week, I think. They also did roll up the mat a bunch. We really didn't know why or what, maybe sweat, I guess.
They were changing the mats constantly after almost every match.
Matt, what's up with the mat?
So, yeah, the reason they do that is sanitary. I mean, it's health reasons. So, It's just, I mean, they never used to do that, and ever. I mean, this is recent over the last 5 to 10 years. Their health standards and sanitary procedures are like, top of the line. So it's just because, it's sanitary reasons, health reasons. So that's why they do it.
Good. No.
But,
Okay.
So, all right, cool. Well, Asuka versus Charlotte also happened. What did you guys think of this matchup?
Yeah.
It was okay. Charlotte.
It's a good thing they put it on first.
Yeah, Charlotte seemed tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel like she was like 100% or I don't know, like 60%.
Yeah, the crowd was decent. They were trying, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When EO came out, though, that's what really made the match.
Yeah.
Because people are definitely crowning for her, I think. So she's on the rise.
Which is interesting because EO is placed, at least on paper, as a heel, but people are all about EO Sky. It seems like she is, she's in it. She's a babyface in a heel group, which is interesting to me. And I am with you. I'm glad you made that observation about Charlotte, because when she came out, I go, something doesn't feel right. Not that she's injured or anything. It just looks like she's on autopilot. Like she's just not there. Yeah.
And not only that, but she was wearing the same costume that she wore in the last match.
The red robe?
Yeah.
And the red two-piece.
It kind of throws me off. Lately, they've been doing like SmackDown. A lot of people are wearing blue, and then Raw, a lot of people are wearing red, it seems. But her just wearing bright red was kind of different than what I would have thought.
Yeah, she wore the same clothes as she wore in SummerSlam.
Yeah. And I don't know, Matt, did it just before that match, they had the announcers come out. Was that on television?
And announce, you mean like the announcers come out and announce the wrestlers coming out? Is that what you mean?
No, just the fact that like Michael Cole, Corey Graves, I think, and the other guy came out, and they actually had an entrance when they came out.
Yeah, they never, almost never. I've seen it very rarely when like a big announcer's returning, like if Pat McAfee was returning or something, or Jim Ross, was returning to WWE, they would do it then. But 99.9% of the time, it's just entrance music and entrances for the announcers in-house. It's never televised, nearly never. So. But when I saw Cole, I don't know the reason for that. I'm thinking to myself, you got Corey Graves, you've got Kevin Patrick, and now you've got Michael Cole. I'm like, why are they changing to a 3-man booth on SmackDown? I wasn't sure of the reason for it.
Yeah, it's a crowded table.
A lot of wrestlers have to go through that table. So.
That's right. It's a lot of scrambling.
Very true. I know. All right, let's see. What other matches did we not cover here? Oh, no, LA Knight and Top Dollar. We already talked about that. We didn't really talk too much in depth about the United States Championship, the match itself, which I thought was I mean, no complaints here. I think the biggest thing coming out of this wasn't necessarily the match quality, which was just fine. It was the fact that Rey Mysterio won in a place in his career that, Rey Mysterio is, he's not a spring chicken. The guy has got a lot of mileage on his body. He's clearly close to retirement, I would imagine, the next few years. But I have yeah, oh, absolutely. But I think this was the right move. That's not a complaint on my part by any means, because I think Rey Mysterio could help elevate the U.S. title that has taken a real hit since WrestleMania with Austin Theory, who also beat John Cena at WrestleMania, and it has had the exact opposite effect on his career that they intended it to have. I mean, Austin Theory has gone just off a cliff since beating John Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well.
Galia wants the shirt. Austin is a theory.
Yeah, that's what I said. We're at Calgary, and I'm like, yeah, we should make a shirt that says Austin is a theory. And because he just doesn't seem like a champion. Every single time I've seen him in a match, like
100%,
that was it the Elimination Chamber where they were, and I said, oh, look at him, he's just slinking around there on the mat pretending to be hurt just so he can regain some energy and then come back in. And he just, everything about him just seems slimy. Now that's just the character, of course, and hopefully I'd really love to see them make him into a good guy, because I really think that he would do well.
That's a creative choice by you. Wow.
Yeah.
So that would be your solution to jumpstart him again. Would be you're saying turn him into
a good guy, because I saw some of the history on him. They did a little bio on him one time, and he was talking about how he was like when he was 14, he
He met
figured
John
out
Cena, didn't he?
it's something like that, and he figured that, if he did this and this and this, he could get into wrestling, and while he could do this,
bodybuilding,
to bodybuilding, and he really seemed to have like this real honest to goodness good old boy passion. So I don't understand,
like AJ Styles.
Yeah, so I don't understand why they've made him into this beast, slimy beast, because it's
something,
because he really seems to have a really great personality, and I think that would be far better off if they really capitalized on that, because I think refresh.
I like that. Yeah, I have not seen. Where did you see that little bio on him? Was it on?
It was on.
I feel like it was before WrestleMania. They might have been talking about his
maybe,
bodybuilding or something.
Yeah, maybe it was before WrestleMania or something, like before one of the big matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Gallia really, she's got infinity. So do I, for a true champion like Gunther, where it just like you and Anthony will say 100 times, if a guy can beat you clean, it's worth 3 times this amount of a cheating guy sometimes. So.
Yeah.
And heels don't always have to cheat to win, which I think WWE sometimes needs to be reminded of. Yeah, I don't mind it once in a while. Like I actually liked when Logan Paul used the brass knucks. That kind of fits his character. And brass knucks, I haven't. We don't see him a lot in WWE anymore. But I think they often feel that it's 95% of the time the heels need to cheat to win. It's like, why? Why? I mean, like that's one trait that people don't like, but it's overused, I think, generally.
Right, because if you're going to be a heel, it means you're pompous.
Yeah.
Well, usually you feel that you have something to be haughty about. So, showcase that talent and that match.
It kind of makes sense with Roman Reigns just being like, oh, the spotlight is why I'm so good. It's not his wrestling skills, which is sad.
Even though every single Roman Reigns match for the last 3 years has had the most interference, ref bumps, everything else that you can imagine under the sun. I mean, Roman Reigns, there have been a few, but very rare, Roman Reigns just clean victories over his opponent, which I think taints his run a little bit with so much just wonky Solo Sikoa helping him out, Jimmy and Jay when they were together with Roman, all that, which, again, I think does hurt a little bit. So,
100%. One moment, I just wanted to give a shout out to the man who had done the list of Roman Reigns' victories and how they ended and at what event that he had on a mailbag maybe a couple months ago. That was amazing.
Oh, I remember. I don't know who that was. So, off the top of my head, I read so many emails. So somebody out there, if you're listening, whoever you are, that give us that list of the people or the finishes for all the matches. I do remember that. Yeah.
So good. Yep. And a lot of them, like we're saying, just a little too much cheating. So I told Gallia before the match started that if the LWO guy won, that they would bring prestige back to the title, just like Gunther's doing. Those, maybe it's cultural, but there's a lot of inherent championship mentality inside those people.
Pride.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. And, well, while we're on the Roman Reigns topic, I mean, that was the end of the show here with him coming out. We talked a little bit about it, but the crux of it was that Jimmy and Jay, well, they had a discussion, and Jimmy thought he was being forgiven, and he came in for a hug at the end, and eventually Jay hit him in the face. But Jay turned his back on his brother and refused to face him. Jimmy then left the ring, and Roman was laughing, and Jay super kicked Roman in the face. And then on camera is where we saw, after Jay kicked Jimmy, of course, on the ramp, we saw Jimmy say that he's done with WWE, and he walks out through the crowd and he's done, which of course he's not. He's just probably taking some time off to continue whatever story they're telling. But did you guys hear him say that? I'm imagining you didn't. And also, just kind of your overall thoughts about this segment.
He said that,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because I watched SmackDown yesterday while Chris was at work. And so we went and played some board games with some family last night. And I'm like,
Big news
I know
for you.
something you don't. And so I told him, it was, because I was like, wow, because we didn't hear any of that, because he was just basically, he wasn't using a mic. He was basically just talking into the camera.
Which that
Yeah,
almost
you're
never
quite
happens.
observant to
I
see
like
that,
that.
Matt.
I actually like that. I know that for the in-person crowd, you guys in the crowd, you didn't hear that. I don't know if it was necessary for you guys to hear that though, because you still got the idea of what was happening. But sometimes I think that the off-camera stuff or the off-mic stuff makes it seem more real when you catch something maybe that you weren't supposed to hear because they're not holding a mic, if that makes sense. But no, I was surprised by this development. What do you guys think this means for Jay? What's next for Jey Uso if he says he's, quote, done with WWE? What do you think this is?
I'll take this one first. Thanks for asking, Matt. I don't know.
Well put. Well stated.
I don't know. Maybe Roman Reigns is going to buy him a yacht. Who knows? I don't know. I thought it was really interesting how Jimmy comes in and, lays him out kind of thing. And during SummerSlam, the hooded guy coming in and, makes him lose the match. And then he's like, oh, I did it for you so that you wouldn't become like him. Like, give me a break. Eye roll.
I was semi-okay with the reason, but...
Yeah, but, then it seems like they just dropped it. And I don't really... Yeah, I don't know what it means.
The old "I did it because I love you." It's kind of like the old I love you and that's why I did it for tough love or some nonsense. But it also is funny that they anytime someone defects or leaves the bloodlines, they automatically wear a black hoodie. I mean, Sami Zayn did it. I think Jey Uso at one point did it. Jimmy's doing it with the black hoodie. I don't mind the look. It's just kind of a weird thing that they've got going on there. But yeah, so it seems the bloodline's fractured. Obviously, Jay's gone. Solo continues to show his allegiance to Roman. We'll see how long that lasts. But Roman is apparently injured, and it's, from what I understand, he's not going to be competing for his championship or defending it until sometime maybe at Fastlane, which isn't until October. And then at that point, I mean, I have to ask, because I really don't want to, but it keeps happening. Do you guys think The Rock is coming back? Do you guys believe The Rock is going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40?
I think that this is the bone that people love to chew on, because it's like tugging the dog with this bone. I don't know, it feels like it's like good promotion, and The Rock is definitely allowing all of that promotion. Honestly, I don't think he's going to come back in anything significant. He might come back for some type of, what would you call that? Like
a cameo
a celebrity,
appearance?
like a celebrity match type of thing, but nothing that's really going to mean anything, because he's got another life.
Yeah,
he's got another life, and he looks good. He works hard to maintain that persona. I don't think he really wants to come back in the ring. And
for myself, I think it's inevitable that it will happen, that he'll address it. I don't know if he will come for WrestleMania. I can even imagine possibly like Roman Reigns losing his title at WrestleMania.
Maybe kind of like when John Cena came to WrestleMania, and it was nothing. It was basically it was pretty quick. It was basically a celebrity match.
But I think that Roman Reigns and The Rock will have a match. Like you say, the clock is ticking, so WrestleMania is the best chance. But I could see Roman Reigns losing, and then The Rock just coming in to maybe add insult to injury when that does happen. So,
and then maybe some unknown person or some up and coming rising person will then come and take out The Rock, and then maybe take the short-lived title away from him.
Yeah, no, I can see both sides here. The Rock doesn't need WWE. WWE, really, nobody needs anyone at this point. But given the fact that, I've talked about this with Anthony so many times, but it's almost criminal if they don't do it, because I know The Rock's not going to come back and win the title and go on a 10-month title run. That's not going to happen. And I actually don't want the title on the line, because it was totally give away the finish of the match. We know The Rock's not winning the title, but the fact that the storyline for the family is there, and that it would elevate Roman's career even further to headline WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia with The Rock, And The Rock is the king of Hollywood. I mean, the crossover audience would be incredible. It's right there for the taking. It's right there. The Rock keeps himself in amazing shape. I mean, if you follow him anywhere, the dude is just timeless. And so I don't know. I think it'd be criminal if they don't do it just because they've been teasing it. And Grayson Waller, to be fair, keeps teasing it. I mean, he keeps talking about The Rock on the air. He did the People's Elbow a couple of weeks ago. So there are hints if you want to find something to be able to hang on to.
That's definitely an interesting thing, and who knows? Maybe The Rock will come back and put Roman in his place, like maybe a course correction. Hey, you need to get your act together. This is not honorable. This is not how we act. This is not how a chief acts.
Fastest switches in history. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it'll be more of an admonishment.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, I do have to ask though, like, when you say that there's no chance that The Rock will win, how can you be so positive? And I just don't get that mentality.
I will say this. I will say if the title's on the line, there's no chance The Rock wins. None. Because
why is that?
Because The Rock is anytime now. Look, he is what he's 50 something. He's pushing 50. Mm-hmm. He is not going to be coming back to go on any sort of sustained run with the company as a champion. They would not also give the title that the Roman's been holding for 3+ years to a guy that doesn't need it. That also is okay. Also a major reason. So if the title's on the line, you're not going to all this talk about who's going to be the one to finally beat Roman Reigns. What the heck The Rock does? He's the last person on this earth that needs that championship. And people would look at that and go, "Oh, cool, Roman's not champion," but they blew this whole thing off for The Rock, who's going to go back to Hollywood in a week. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason. So if this match happens, I don't want the title on the line because it would make the outcome much more unpredictable.
Maybe there will be some other type of title match where Roman Reigns will, of course, cheat again, and he'll end up winning. And then maybe The Rock will come out, and there'll be like this spoiler match. It's not really a match that means anything, but he'll just lay Roman out. Maybe it'll be something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. If we don't hear anything about The Rock through, if nothing happens by the Royal Rumble, which is in 4 months or so, 5 months, then it ain't happening. But I mean, I would give it till the Royal Rumble until we can finally claim this is happening or not. But all right, well,
I did want to segue with that for just one moment. Yeah. So the thought that The Rock and winning the title and so sure or not, I want to give a shout out to these people that were right behind us. It was a dad and his son, and they were watching when Rey Mysterio was going to verse Austin Theory. It was the classic kid WWE dream story of can he do it? And it was a really good thing. I'm going to get them hopefully to call in to you to leave a WWE mailbag.
Yeah,
because we actually got their phone number.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
We thought it was just so beautiful that we were like, we got to use this or, put you in touch to put it out there. So
we're not shy.
No, I guessed that right off the bat. Yeah. That's good, though. They'll have them call in. I mean, I would definitely put them on.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so cool.
That's awesome. I love seeing that. That's actually one of my goals. I told my wife I'm going to indoctrinate my son with WWE, so she's well aware of who's. I'm going to tell him who to cheer for, make sure that he cheers for the right people, in not cheering for the New Day, which is one of my pet peeves. But they returned this past week on Raw. Very exciting stuff, of course. But transitioning very, very briefly to Raw, what do you guys make about what's going on with Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura that turned on Seth this past week? I know obviously you guys weren't in attendance for that, but just kind of your general thoughts on the big ticket items going on Monday Night Raw.
Gallia's got the face again.
We were on our way home just before, because we actually gave a guy a ride on the way home today. And then we were talking about that Seth Rollins match and how the guy who said that he trusted more than Cody Rhodes to fill in when Sami Zayn wasn't able to do that. And he was just like, he's the one that laid him out. He's the one that betrayed him.
You can't really trust a guy that never talks on TV. You don't know what he's thinking, really.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, yeah, I don't know.
And actually, Gallia insists that every time that Shinsuke comes out to the ring, he might have had a few too many Pepsis.
I never said that.
He makes
just
that
making
face
it.
when he
He
gets
does.
into the ring and he lays back, right?
Oh,
You're like,
yeah.
oh, what's that?
That's funny. Yeah, no. Now I'll never be able to unhear that. Now I'm just going to be thinking that every time I see him. Shinsuke Nakamura probably getting the biggest push of his career since WrestleMania. I don't even know what it was when he headlined with AJ Styles 6-7 years ago. It's been a long time since Shinsuke's been put in this position, and I'll be honest, I don't think this is going to lead to Shinsuke winning the title. It seems like he's a stepping stone for Seth to get his whoever his next real quote unquote opponent is. But I think in the meantime, this is going to be a lot of fun. Shinsuke in the main event for a pay-per-view or two is fun, and he's got Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think gets the credit he deserves from the storyline and for his career of how good he is in the ring, and he's got that sing along music that seems to be very fad right now. I mean, Cody's got the sing along, Seth's got the sing along, Shinsuke's got sing along music. So do you guys at least looking forward to the Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins matchup that's presumably going to happen at the next event?
We both pointed at each other. So myself, 100%. I like Shinsuke. I know he can go, and so I want to see a good match, and it's gonna happen. I'm curious if maybe because Asuka had started speaking a little bit, if Shinsuke will also get that open door. In which case, then I could see him taking on a bigger role. But yeah, really, he's a good guy to have good matches with for sure.
We need more communication, though. They need to talk to us more.
I've been screaming at the rooftops on that one. I mean, I don't get. I understand he has a heavy accent. I understand he's difficult to hear, but if I can still understand what he's saying, and I think it's unfair. It's unfair to his career. It's unfair to just the fans as a whole to not have him say more than a few words. Which Asuka has been relegated to up until recently. Nobody's ready for Asuka. That's all she's been able to say or allowed to say. And I think it's been a damn shame. And now she's, you see her backstage and talking. I'm like, okay, cool. She does know more than 5 words, which is good. So
basically they have two wrestlers from Japan.
Io Sky, Shinsuke,
3.
Asuka.
Well, these 2 in particular that are on, and they don't really speak a whole lot of English. So it really mutes them a lot, for the. A little bit of the pun that is,
and
because
the same as
talking.
AJ and the Gallows, they went to Japan to train, to get better, and so to have these 3 select Japanese wrestlers, they got to pay him a bit more homage or respect, I think.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about Trish and Becky Lynch? Are you guys interested in seeing their finale, their final match, which did not take place at SummerSlam, which is a head scratcher? What are you guys invested in Trish and Becky at all?
I like Becky Lynch. I like her story. I don't like Trish. I'm just, I don't like her. But that's just me, and so I'm not as invested in the story. But yeah, I really do like Becky Lynch. I wish she would stop calling herself the Man because, come up with something better.
Trish, I'm on the thank you Trish bandwagon for sure. I don't need to see the match though, but I would like to maybe have more kind of memorialized thoughts of her career. So good on her for doing it.
Yeah, I think the fans are just generally ready for this to be over. And I do wonder what it's in store for both of these women post their finale in a week or so, whenever this match is taking place. I think is it Monday or it's tomorrow night? I can't remember what it is. Yeah. So once this is over, I do wonder what's next for Trish. She's going to go back into retirement, and then what happens with Becky Lynch? Does she shift her focus to perhaps Rhea Ripley? And Rhea Ripley actually has a real opponent for once. I mean which I actually would like to see, because Rhea Ripley is too damn good not to be working with some top talent. I understand.
Or being on SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, she had Zelina Vega and just a couple of months ago. We all knew Zelina Vega wasn't going to win. We understand that. But also, then she had Natalya. But Natalya is kind of a gatekeeper for the women's division. You also know that she doesn't have a real chance. So I'd like Rhea, for the first time since WrestleMania 4 months ago, to be able to actually work with somebody that you look at and go, that woman could actually pose a real threat to her championship. And we haven't seen Rhea in a one-on-one match with that woman yet.
No, and you know what? One thing that I actually find really annoying about what they've done with Rhea Ripley is that she's a really strong athlete. She's an incredible athlete and with a strong personality. And the last several months, she's just been Dominic Mysterio's window dressing, and it's really annoying. It's really, it's almost like a two-facedness that she's like the strong character, and probably in person too, and she's just being used as like window candy
and to punch the boys and stuff like that.
To punch the boys and stuff like that. And that part's a little annoying. I wish that they would have a fight and just get it over with, and she would just move on and just step into her own.
Which I'm actually really excited. Judgment Day is taking on that new guy. Or maybe Finn himself is just. But Judgment Day growing with that guy seems kind of cool.
Oh, PJ McDonough. Yeah. So I think he's going to be the one, I think, that finally drives the wedge between Finn and Damian. And that match between Finn and Damian's gonna happen. They keep teasing it. They seem cool. Now they got a big problem again. And PJ McDonough is he's continuing to say, oh well, if the Money in the Bank briefcase is a problem, maybe you should get rid of the briefcase. And Finn is like, that's my friend, and Damian wanted to punch him. So there's a lot of tension right now. I think it's going to boil over, and I think Finn's going to eventually be, he's going to come out the good guy here because no one's going to want to cheer Damian Priest. So I think Finn is going to be the one on the outside looking in, fighting the Judgment Day, while maybe PJ McDonough takes his place. That's just my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So... Cool. Is there anything else on Raw or other storylines going on that you guys wanted to touch on, or really even your experience in Calgary?
I like to hear Matt rants, so I have one.
Don't
question.
Do it.
Okay, moving on. Galia put up her finger.
No, I wasn't putting my finger up.
I'm scared.
I'm scared. Oh, the one?
yeah, we saw you blip over some of our email on the air the other day.
Oh, we the twos rooting for the one. You know what?
No, we're not going to say that.
Okay, if you're willing to, you don't have to address it. Just file it in the memory bank for a question that was raised. How controversial is Jay's shirt of the real Chief? With the
real Chief. Yeah. I feel like should I be triggered by this? I'm trying to think why.
Well, the Redskins.
The Redskins, the Washington,
Eskimos.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but the thing is, the implication is we know what we're talking about. I mean, the word chief in and of itself is not controversial. It's just what's the implication? And the implication is tribal chief. So, I mean, is there a big hullabaloo about this or something? Are people bringing this up?
I could see it happen. If I'm going to plug a place here in Smoky Lake. We have a Métis Crossing. If I walked around that place wearing a Jey Uso shirt, that's going to get me in some boiling water, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, again, it just depends on, you got to know your room, know your audience. Where are you? What shirt are you wearing? You could wear a shirt. I mean, it's just like going down, and I know you guys are from Canada, but if I went down to Alabama wearing an Oklahoma football jersey and I went to a stadium, I'd probably get my ass kicked. I mean, like, it's just, it's certain rivalries, certain things people take real offense to. You just got to know your room and where you are. And even though the shirt that you were talking about with Jay is clearly talking about the tribal chief, a pro wrestling storyline, you're right. If you went there, it would not sit well because people won't know what the hell that is, and they're just going to take it as, this is really offensive, and this, they're not going to go, oh, is that from WWE? You're cool, no problem, right? Like, they're gonna, of course.
Okay, well. When Roman Reigns came out in the match, or down the line there, I started chanting "No Chief" over and over again, and it didn't really take off. But I kind of think that's
a good chant.
I think that Roman Reigns is given way too much latitude for the amount of time that he's there, and I think that when Seth Rollins won the title and he said that he was going to be available every week. He was going to defend his title, to anybody and everything. Now that might be a little bit ridiculous, but Roman Reigns, if he doesn't show up for 3-4 months, nobody really bats much of an eye. And that's kind of it's more than annoying. It's extremely irritating because, they've got this long 1,079 days or 80 days or whatever they're at now. And he's not really a defending champion. It's just once in a while he comes out and he cheats and he just retains it for a little bit longer. And so it's kind of hard to hold on to the enthusiasm when it's the same game over and over again. They don't even actually have a different game. It's the same one. He can't win, so he cheats, and they just keep perpetuating
And
it.
tribal combat, like had been mentioned, they stopped Solo from attacking Jay. And then Solo did it in the actual match. That's just not good.
Yeah, I noticed that little tidbit, and I'm just like, yeah, it was one of those things they mentioned at the beginning, and then when it actually happened, it's just, that we didn't really mean that. No one even brought it up after that, other than the fans that paid attention. But yeah, you're right. It is formulaic with Roman, but to your credit, right now, from what I understand, Roman is in the whole Bloodline storyline is taking a pause from SmackDown. There's going to be, from what I gather, a bit of a break from the Bloodline, the whole storyline for a little while, which I think we all do need a break. The identity of SmackDown has been the Bloodline story, and people have looked forward to it, and to its credit, has been done very well. But it's time for us to kind of see what WWE SmackDown can be without the Bloodline. I think it gives more opportunity for new stars to rise. It gives an opportunity for us to kind of hit the refresh button on, okay, can we see something other than the Bloodline storyline with Roman? I think what'll help too with Roman is, obviously changing his opponent to, somebody that you look at and go, oh, okay, this person could really beat Roman, because
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that one is that's not going to happen ever again because of the stipulation from last SummerSlam, I think. So, yeah, that's done.
But they really need to pass the belt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
it's kind of like sit on the lot or whatever, something.
Or they may look at this and say, hey, he's halfway to being the longest reigning champion of all time ever in WWE since its existence, and that's like 2,000 and some days. So he could only be halfway through at best his championship run in WWE. It's possible.
Are you ready for that?
I honestly, at this point, if I was WWE, there is an argument to be made while fans would lose their minds. But if we were at Roman, think about this. 3 years ago, if you had told me and told anybody Roman Reigns is still going to be champion 3 years from now, they would have been like, no way, that's never going to work. That's ridiculous. And here we are 3 years later. And now we could say the same thing and make the same argument. But if you were to tell me, though, that this would result in all of us experiencing in our lifetimes the longest reigning champion of all time, that's kind of a special thing. Like I understand it's different today. It's not when Bruno Sammartino was around. It's a different atmosphere. I understand that. But, isn't that cool to say we will never again in our lifetime see a champion reigning this long? So there is that argument. So, I don't know.
Bring it on.
So yeah, I'm split on it. I'm on the fence, but anyway, we're
a good generation. Let's hope for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to share about your live experience or just opinions on anything else going on?
I'm pretty sold up. Yeah.
It was pretty fun.
Put a bow on it. Yeah.
It was pretty fun. We can't wait to share these T-shirts that we made for our we're gonna tag the WWE podcast in that, and that was a huge highlight. We were sitting in the truck making these T-shirts, and it was so much fun. And
one of us with our shirt off too.
Yeah, one of us. Yeah, it wasn't me.
I wasn't gonna position anybody in there. I had an idea of who it was. Yes.
And so we had these shirts because every night when SmackDown starts and we're sitting on our little 2-seater blue couch
all day Friday.
Yeah. When it comes on, it starts, and what do we say? We say It's fight night.
It's fight night.
It's fight night.
We love
and
it.
so we wrote that on our shirts. It's fight night.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can also hear Michael Cole screaming that in my ear. I mean, because he says he says it every single time, like it's the last thing he's going to say. You know, but no, it's very good. That's awesome. And I will be looking for these tags. And if you guys are comfortable, it's up to you. You can share your social media on the show. You don't have to, but I want to give you the time to do that if you want.
Okay. Well, we don't actually have anything set up yet. We're starting this crazy new podcast. Chris is just laughing
because bought these mics.
Yeah, we bought these mics, and we're so look for it because it's coming in the next month, and it's called. Get ready for this: The Rantings of a Worst Bite Woman.
Featuring Galia.
No,
featuring me.
So say that again for anyone that didn't hear the first time.
Yeah, it's going to be called The Rantings of a Worst Bite Woman. And so we could really just talk about anything. And sometimes, you know, we might talk about WWE.
Yeah, if Roman Reigns is still champion, feel free to rant.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, yeah, we you know, if you haven't already guessed, we're a couple that just likes to have fun and
creative fun too.
Creative fun. And, but just PG. And, we noticed that when we were at the Calgary Saddle Dome, that there was a lot of couples that were out there and whatnot. And, you know, we just want to encourage people to just have fun, just be in the moment and just live it up and things like that, because it's not just a show. You're going and you're doing your time, you're putting your 2 hours in, you know, it's a whole experience. So just get into it.
I like that. In a world where we're all buried in our phones, you know, you don't live in the moment anymore. You know what I mean? Like we're all just like our heads in our phones. And oftentimes when we are on our phones at an event, we'll be looking at the event through the screen of our phone instead of actually just looking at whatever, you know what I mean? So you're still not in the moment, even when you're trying to be in the moment, because you're trying to record it to post it to Instagram or whatever else. And it's just the way, you know, kind of for good and bad reasons, it's kind of the way things are right now. But I like that. And I like the name of the podcast because it doesn't just, your podcast isn't just going to limit it to wrestling. It could be anything you want to rant about that day. I like that.
Absolutely. And
Pauly Shore did it.
I have got a list.
I'm sure you do. Yeah. I can tell.
Chris Jericho did it.
So we'll tag you with our shirts on Instagram. Awesome. And you know what? Maybe someone else listening to the WWE podcast will make their own shirt and maybe they'll be inspired. So that's what we want to do. Well, all right. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Matt.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been a blast. And whenever your show goes live, let me know, you know, and let us know, and we'll promote it on the show for you, because I think you guys are going to be very successful with it. You guys just have like a natural chemistry. Like I've said before, you definitely have something there. So
whoop, whoop. Thanks.
50% in chemistry does well.
It does. It does. So you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, likewise.
Good night.
Have a super night.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.